It's time for Big Issue, and today we are talking about the energy sector. There's a lot to talk about it because in the last couple of weeks, there's been some power outages being experienced in various parts of the country. I've seen multiple statements from mainly the power distributor, ECG, making reference to the fact that they're undertaking some maintenance, and as a result of that, there are periodic outages. But while all of this is ongoing, we have seen the energy minister, the Minister for Energy and Green Transitions, address the nation and talk about how the sector is challenged. This is not the first time he's making such a disclosure. You recall in January, shortly after the new government had taken office, he did indicate that there were challenges with fuel availability for Ghana's power plants. It comes back to the issue of debts that have bedeviled the sector for many years now. We have been told that one of the power producers is threatening to shut down. We owe as much as 400 million cedis. If you pick ECG, for instance, in terms of the power they supply, any 10 cedi they supply, they're able to recover from the consumers. They make losses of about 4 cedis out of the 10. And so that means that they are simply not getting enough money from the power that they are selling. Already there are also debts that precede this particular government that are also due. Governments have over the period tried to renegotiate and reach various agreements with the power players just to give government some leeway. While doing all of that, there are also recurring commitments because we have to keep the power on. The most threatening aspect of all of this was hearing from the minister yesterday saying that in terms of fuel stocks available, the nation has less than 3 days, which means that we have to immediately find money to procure. There is some good news that has come in. We are told that some 400,000 barrels of fuel has been received. As to whether we have money available to clear them in order to ensure that the power remains on is another conversation altogether. And this is why we are beginning our discussion this morning on this topical issue of national concern, because we all need power. Our industries need power. If the 24-hour economy policy will take off, we definitely need some power. And so we'll be engaging various individuals to understand where we are as a country and what we must do to deal with this situation. I want to start first by bringing you excerpts of what the minister told the nation by way of the current state of the energy sector. And that will be coming up on your screen shortly. We'll be looking at the debts that are due, the losses that are being made, and the need for government to raise the required revenue immediately in order to deal with this particular situation. And so we are told that energy sector debt, excluding fuel, we are looking at some $3.1 billion. The debt owed the IPPs alone comes to $1.7 billion. Car Powership, one of our major producers of power, we owe them $400 million, and they have already served notice that if government does not pay the money, they are going to shut down their plants, which would have dire consequences for power supply in the country. In terms of ECG, under recoveries, shortfalls, their inability to recover what they are supplying to consumers, 2 billion cedis on monthly basis. And again, for the year 2025, so far 30 billion cedi as the under recoveries on the part of ECG so far. And the part that got many people worried was the point that the minister made that, look, in terms of the fuel that we had available, the liquid fuel that we had available, we had just about 2.6 days available, less than 3 days. And so the question that remains is that if we are not able to get some stock available in the next coming days, then we'll have some challenges. Let's take a listen to John Jinapo, the Minister for Energy and Green Transitions, make the point about the fact that the sector as it stands is very challenging and they need to find urgent solutions.
My honest assessment, and this is very honest, and I did say this even before the elections, that whoever won the elections was going to have a very tough time dealing with the energy challenges. Because last year alone, government spent over 24 billion cedis in energy sector, either you call it subsidies, under recoveries, or shortfalls. This year, it is estimated at over 30 billion in terms of the shortfall. Yesterday, we had a session with the finance minister, and a lot of the people here were there. We require about $1.1 billion to procure liquid fuels alone. Unfortunately, and the PRC is here, the liquid fuel is not part of the tariff structure. And so you will be buying close to $15 billion of liquid fuel, and that has to be paid by the central government because it's not part of the tariff structure. As if that is not enough, what you call the reserve margin, which is a necessity, because you just don't bring plants to meet exactly what you consume. What if one plant goes off for maintenance or any situation? That is not also part of the tariff structure. More importantly, the tariff itself, ECG is unable to collect all the monies. And so you're having a deficit of about 2 billion cedis every month when it comes to ECG's collections. When you add that deficit and you add the fuel, which is not part of the pass-through, you are looking at over 30 billion. Car Power has just sent us a letter that by 18th, they will shut down the plant because we owe them more than $400 million. IPPs alone, we owe them $1.7 billion. And so it's serious. I must be frank with you, Chairman. Today, as I sit here, this morning, my headache is how to get the next parcel of liquid fuel. The fuel we have to take us 2.6 days. We've placed order for fuel, but it has to be paid. We've procured some fuel on credit and working with the Ministry of Finance to pay. But the truth is that the Ministry of Finance also has its limits. And so we'll be going to Cabinet to discuss how we can improve on the sector. And that is why we are pushing for some private sector participation in ECG's operations. It does not entirely solve the problem, but it takes us to another level. Because if the collections are reduced from the 40% to say 5%, it means that we'll be collecting more. Cabinet has also adopted a position, and we'll brief you, Chairman. All MMDAs are supposed to pay for their electricity bills. They have to budget for it. We've identified what we call critical institutions. They include the health sector, the education sector, the security agencies, and the presidency. Even with that, so if you take the health sector, is the theaters, the laboratories, the wards that will be exempted. If you take
So the main challenges we hear the minister make reference to or allude to has to do with the fact that there are legacy debts, that is one. There's also the need to have funds available to secure fuel. There's also the issue of under-recoveries. And the point is being made that, well, there are concerns about the tariff and the need for ECG to be able to be up and doing to recover what is supplying to the various distributors. I want to read something to you which you find interesting. The minister was speaking yesterday. Now, this document I'm reading here says here that tackling the energy sector's long-standing macro-critical challenge is paramount. Below cost recovery tariffs, distribution and recovery losses, and excess capacity combined with take-or-pay contracts have led to large financial shortfalls over the past few years. By the end of 2022, the outstanding energy sector debt had reached 1.6 billion, owed mainly to IPPs and fuel suppliers. The authorities have almost doubled electricity tariffs over the past year to bring them close to cost recovery level, but distribution and commercial losses persist. Now, you'll be surprised if I tell you that this document is an IMF country report on Ghana in January 2024. And it's just like a rehash of what the minister is saying today in May of 2025 when we are speaking. And the question on the minds of many is that we've known this problem. In fact, if you go a step back to even 2016, 2017, 2018, the then government made reference to issues surrounding the take-or-pay agreements, excess capacity, need to find funds to pay off our fuel suppliers and all of that. And so it appears the same challenge that is being recycled over and over again. And for the ordinary consumer, what they struggle to understand is the fact that they are paying their bills. There are those who are not paying, unfortunately, and they are mainly state agencies. And that is how or why we have to look at this matter critically and try to find out how we can deal with it. And join me in the studio to help me have this discussion this morning. Abraham Amaliba is a legal practitioner, Director General of the National Road Safety Authority. He's doing his usual initial notes-taking. AB, welcome.
Thank you for having me, and good morning to your viewers and listeners alike.
Did you have power yesterday?
Yeah, I had power. I had power. There's power. But I'm reading from our platform. I think it went out momentarily, but it's back.
Also joining us for this discussion, I'm sure when they opened the white shot, you saw him seated there. He's the 90s bad prof, Professor Enoch Upoku Entry, the prof on the ground. Prof, let us say.
Yes.
You look different today, and already I'm getting messages from people who saw you briefly.
Oh, really?
Yes, they are excited. What you know when they do the TGMs?
Okay.
I don't know whether you watch. They mostly
Yes,
ask them
I did.
what is influencing their outfit. What was the story?
Story for the okay. No. I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah, but we like what you're. We like how you're looking today, Prof.
You have to know me to know how I dress. I remember one professor in one of the universities that I taught in US. That was a vice president of the university. When she was leaving, she sent me a note that you bring passion and fashion to our university.
Oh,
so, passion and fashion.
Passion and fashion. So I am a very fashionistic person.
Yeah, that's the PNF prof there. Passion and fashion.
But Barcelona did well yesterday.
Oh yes.
So congratulations to Barcelona.
Yes, the best team on earth aside from Kumasi Asante Kotoko.
No, not really. But I think that Inter Milan is going to win the Champions League.
Yeah. Yes. But I mean, Barcelona did very well.
But on a more serious note for what we're discussing today, I think that if you look at the debt, if we're talking about debt, legacy debt, it's a big thing that every Ghanaian should be thinking about.
Yeah.
I checked the government budget, and we are spending 64 billion Ghana cedis in paying debt, servicing debt, whereas education from primary to secondary to tertiary, all the institutions, government budget for the whole year is 42 billion Ghana cedis. So if you look at the money that we are using to service debt, when we have a lot of emergency of other things like electricity that we need to take care of, I think that we need to do well. I also believe that the MMDAs have failed us in Ghana when it comes to electricity that we'll talk about. Because if you have Ghana Water Company, according to a report, for the past 7 months, they've not even paid a cedi to the electricity company of Ghana. How do we survive? Because individuals are paying their bills. If you buy 100 cedis of, electricity, if you buy 100 cedis, you are paying 11 cedis. As they deduct 11 cedis from you, so you get 89 from the token, number that you put in there. So where does the 10 to 11% go? It's deduction. So individuals are doing well, but I think the corporate institutions should do well to help us because we all need electricity to survive in everything that we do. Technology is everything now, and without electricity, innovation will suffer greatly in our country.
We'll get into some of the details quite shortly, but joining us on Zoom as well is Richmond Roxon. Richmond Roxon is a lawyer. He's also the head of communication at the Ministry of Energy. Mr. Roxon, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning to your panelists as well.
Great. Also in the studio, you've been looking forward to seeing him around for a while. I'm not too sure where he has been. He's going to tell us himself. Mr. Jantua, it's good to see you.
Good morning, everybody.
How have you been?
I have missed the show.
Yes, our viewers constantly texting and asking where you are and where you have been hiding these days.
Yes, and quite a lot of people were texting me and asking me why have I stopped coming on TV. I had a small emergency I needed to take care of.
It's good to have you back.
It's good to be back.
At the point, I thought he had joined the MPP to boycott the program.
Oh, not at all.
But it's good he's back.
This is your mouth. It's somewhere.
As a big brother, when he's always around, and as a father to you,
yes.
To us, he's a big brother, yes. But to you, he's a father. He spices the program when he's around.
Yeah.
So I'm happy he's around.
Ensures that we stay in line.
We stay in line.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
So I want to go to Richmond and start a conversation with Richmond because, Mr. Roxon, we heard from the minister yesterday saying that we have 2.6 days of fuel available. I understand there's a bit of an update. Some 400,000 barrels are coming in. If you can just provide us a bit more details on that particular situation, and also whether that fuel that has come in, whether we have funds available to pay for them?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. So yesterday, the Parliamentary Select Committee invited agencies under the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition for a dialogue. The minister joined. At the forum, the Parliamentary Select Committee sought answers from the minister on the status of the energy sector today. So the minister gave an update on the energy sector. It covers power, covers renewable, covers petroleum as well. On the fuel side, what the minister mentioned was that the energy sector currently is challenged. It's no news. Everybody knows the status of the sector. This is a sector where, as of December 2024, it was saddled with debt of $3.1 billion. Beyond that, there are several issues. When you look at ECG, there's a shortfall of 2 billion cedis every year. If you add incidentals, you are looking at shortfalls of about 30 billion. And one of the major challenges that we've had in the sector is fuel, because even though you have these power plants, you all need the fuel to power these power plants. Unfortunately, if you look at the tariff structure, the fuel component is not included in the tariff structure. So consistently would have to fall on government of Ghana to make provision for these fuels. And the update yesterday was that, as at the time the minister was speaking, we only had less than 3 days cover for light crude oil. The update now is that we had made provision for an import. We're expecting it between today and tomorrow. We're expecting 450,000 barrels of light crude oil. And with that, definitely any doomsday or the people's fears that they were going to sleep in darkness definitely will be averted. So that is the update for that. On the financing side, that's the bigger picture. There's no dedicated funding for fuels. Ordinarily, when you're selling a product, what should have happened is that once ECG Act procures electricity and sells, you should be able to at least get full cost recovery. That is not what we are experiencing. So consistently, government of Ghana has to take steps to find money, wherever it will find money, to ensure that these fuels are procured. These are structural issues that the ministries of finance, the energy ministry has put before cabinet to ensure that we take a second look at the tariff structure to ensure that these challenges do not continue. The sector is saddled with so much debt, and if steps are not taken for reforms, what will happen is that if we are not careful at a point, the sector may collapse, and that is what the ministry is committed to doing.
And Mr. Roxon, I mean, for our viewers, one thing that leaves them quite worried is the fact that in January, we heard the minister make the point about fuel shortage. How are we having the same discussion in May? I mean, for those who may not understand the space properly, what's accounting for this once again?
The reality is that, like I said, there's no dedicated fund for fuel. If every now and then you have to fall on government of Ghana through the finance ministry to pay for these things, it's challenging. 2 days ago, at a meeting held by the ministers of finance and energy, the finance minister disclosed that his budget for fuels for this year is almost diminished, because it shouldn't be the case that every now and then you are counting on the government of Ghana. The sale of electricity should be able to take care of itself. And we had the same challenge in the petroleum sector between 2010, 2012, for a while, around 2015. This challenge was dealt with by the introduction of deregulation. We had a challenge where we had so much debt, so as legacy debt in the petroleum sector. Today, if you look at how fuel prices are determined, it's a structure. You look at the world market indicators, you look at the exchange rate, you look at prices of finished products, and then the price is made, and then the sale is made. You don't have government of Ghana injecting capital into it, and that is what we aim to do in the power sector. If that is not done, we'll continue to have these challenges, because every now and then, in fact, averagely we spend over $1 billion US to import liquid fuel for these power plants, and that is not sustainable. And that's why the government is looking at a bigger picture of also constructing a second gas power plant to ensure that this challenge is minimized completely. If you look at the cost, if you do the ratio between natural gas and then liquid fuels, it's about 40 to 50% savings, depending on what the market indicators will be. So if you are spending 1.1 billion on fuels in a year alone, half of that money can construct a gas pipeline, and that is what, in the long run, the government of Ghana is looking at doing.
We know that in the last couple of years, I mean, the discussion has always centered around the fact that we have enough by way of installed capacity. In the last couple of weeks, have we had enough fuel to power our plants to meet the demand that we have? And I'm asking because we keep receiving reports from different parts of the country about outages that are taking place. Even just yesterday, there are some areas that experienced outages. Is there any connection between that and the availability of fuel, or is it a different matter altogether?
No, it's a different matter altogether. The reality is that we are not shedding load. And some of these, once you're not shedding load, it will mean that some of these outages will have different factors. The ministry, through the minister, has been engaging the sector players and the agencies, and a number of issues have come up. If you look at the causes of outages, there are several reasons that will account for that. Let me give a typical example. We've seen rapid expansion in some areas where, if you take, let's say, Chado, for example, or Yarifa, the transformers were built for very minimal people, let's say 100 people. These places have moved from largely rural to prime areas. If you look at the kind of buildings at Chado and the estates there, the demands have grown. So what it means is that once you have more people getting on the transformer, you're going to experience intermittent trips sometimes. Once the demand outweighs what is supposed to, what the supply is, you're going to experience some of these things. And these are what accounts for the intermittent outages that we are seeing. We also have seen theft, and that's what the minister spoke about yesterday. We've seen there are instances where we've had complaints of people stealing power. There are instances where we've had, even with ECG staff, and that's what the minister said yesterday, that if it comes to his attention, or if you are caught engaging in any of these acts, definitely you are going to be punished. So for the outages, it's definitely not related to load shedding. These are localized faults, let me put it that way. And that's why we require the necessary investments. That's why we require the necessary ECG to be able to do the collections. It's very crucial that ECG will do this, will improve collections to ensure that the necessary investments are made. This is one of the reasons why Cabinet has approved that all MMDs must pay for electricity they consume. All, there are no exceptions. What the exception is that Cabinet has approved that certain institutions described as critical or strategic institutions will not be on prepayment. They will be on post-payment. These five will be Interior, Defense, Office of the President, Health and Education. And even with that, it's not blanket. It's not that any institution found under that or any personnel under that who lives in a government bungalow is not going to pay electricity. No. There are specific institutions or agencies that have that exemption. For example, if you take education, lecture halls obviously are part of that, are exempted from prepayment meters. If you take labs, laboratories for students, they're exempted. But if you take bungalows, they are not exempted. So if you live in a government bungalow and you're a teacher, definitely you are required to make payment. What the government of Ghana has decided to do is that for the MMDAs that are not part of this exemption, they are going to be on prepayment meters. For those that are part of the exemption, they will pay for the electricity consumed through the Ministry of Finance. But the Ministry of Finance will use a portion of their budgetary allocation for goods and services to make these payments. And once we see an improvement in collection, we'll see the ripple effects in the sector. Because you can't have a shortfall of 2 billion every month. It doesn't work anywhere. There's no way it will work. If you have a 2 billion difference, averagely you're looking at 24 billion a year, if you add incidental costs, you're looking at about 30 billion. No business in the world can be sustainable through this. And that is why all these structural reforms are being dealt with, including a review of the tariffs by cabinet.
Because the minister made reference to it, we owe them some $400 million. I mean, what's the update on that? Are we able to reach some agreement with them or make some payments to at least ensure that we have the supply from them as well?
Yes, the Minister of Energy as well as the Minister of Finance have been engaging Car Power within the period. Progress has been made. Car Power has suspended that directive of shutting down on the 18th. Some roadmap has been agreed, and hopefully the government of Ghana will be able to deal with the debt. Like I said, it comes down to the bigger picture of the energy sector as a whole and its challenges when it comes to financing. And the minister is committed, with the support of His Excellency the President, to deal with this problem once and for all.
In terms of the other IPPs, how current are we on our obligations? And this is outside of the legacy ones that we are dealing with. In terms of what we are using on a month-on basis, are we able to make monies available and pay them as we are supposed to?
Not as we would have wished, and all boils down to the collection. But there's always progress. There's the cash waterfall mechanism that the government has put in place to ensure that at least monies that come in are shared equitably between the IPP. So we would have wished that it would be better than what it is now. And hopefully once these steps are implemented, we'll be able to have an improved sector and they'll be able to make these payments on time.
Mr. Roxon, I'll come back to you shortly. If you could kindly hold the line for me. Let me come to the studio and let me bring into the conversation Mr. Jantua on this matter. I mean, Mr. Jantua, this is your area. I mean, it's only fair I come to you first.
Baptism of fire.
Yes.
Baptism of fire.
Yeah. What's your own reading of what we see happening? And just at the start, I read something from the IMF in January of 2024, and it's basically just like what the minister said yesterday. And for those who are not in the space that you and the minister and all others operate in, they would obviously be curious as to how we have this challenge, and it's like the same challenge over the years. And if you go way back, you also see the same comments, the same challenge. Why are we unable to deal with this particular matter? What's your own assessment?
Good morning to our viewers. Are we not chasing our tail? Are we not? Where the energy sector is concerned. Look at from President Rawlings, this Fourth Republic, President Rawlings to today. Is it not the same problem? Are we not talking about the same thing all the time? And if we're talking about the same thing all the time, what do you think realistically we should do? This is not a party thing. MPP, NDC, they are the main parties that have done what? Manage this country. And if energy has been a challenge, and if debt has been mounting, what do you do? It's not a question of having a stakeholders dialogue. It's a case of putting a plan together. Where's the energy plan? Where's the energy plan that will show you how much money we need, how much money we need in the medium to the long term, how we can make arrangements to make sure that that money is there? Have we done that? Have we put an energy plan together in this country? Other countries have done that, and they are moving. South Korea, typical example, 20-year energy plan of how they manage energy, of how they distribute energy, of how they get feedstock, of how they put the kinds of institutions together to monitor that everything is working. Who monitors ECG?
SIGA.
Who makes sure that the right things are done where ECG is concerned? And you see, one of the major challenges, political interference. Political interference. Because you can see strewn through from President Rawlings' time to now, major challenge, procurement. Why? People make money there. That's where the interest is. And if you have a sector like the energy sector, which is the blood of the nation, which helps in what? Putting industry in place, which helps bring down inflation, which helps bring down exchange rate and some of these things. Don't you put some plan together to make sure that it is running smoothly? Mm. We have what? Transmission losses. Is this the first time you've heard transmission losses?
I've heard it
for years.
Yes.
Why?
Years, yeah.
Has anybody asked the question, why? We have lack of payment of bills. ECG, entire institution, cannot collect revenue. In
fact, that's what resulted in a change of the meters.
Why?
All of that.
Why? Why? What is the germane problem why ECG can't collect revenue? And you see, in this country, we are fond of pointing fingers. We are fond of saying, oh, it is your fault, it is their fault. Look, we are part and parcel of the problem. We Ghanaians, we the ones who are shouting on top of the roofs, are part and parcel of the problem. Take a straw poll and find out how many people pay their electricity bill on time. What did the minister say yesterday? Big industry having paid. And he made an example of Ghana Water. Didn't he?
Yeah.
So if big industry aren't paying, whose responsibility is it to make sure that they pay? Remember when Mahama was heading ECG and he decided to go out and do a ruthless disconnection of all those who didn't pay? What happened? The chieftaincy thing came in, isn't it? That is the phrase I'm using. Chieftaincy thing came in. Oh, why are you shutting them? Oh, they will pay. This is it. Then we are the same people who are complaining, and the same people when action is taken, it's a challenge. Same people. Look, I heard the minister talk about tariffs.
Yeah.
And that the purchases are not tied into the tariffs. And in fact, in the interview, it was the media who, I think it was, yes, it was your channel, because I was on with him. And he was talking about the fact that the tariff system is not part of buying this fuel. And the media was trying to encourage him to do it. It is the same media, if they tie it into tariffs, will come and stand and complain. Because we always say, oh, the people don't have money to pay. The people don't have money to pay. You've got to be ruthless, because without energy, forget it. Nothing moves. Nothing actually moves. Do we not have stranded gas? So the minister indicated that MMDC they are all going to be in charge of doing what? Paying their bills.
Yeah.
Can they do it? Do they have the wherewithal to do it? Is that a blanket statement? Have you gone into their finances to see whether they can afford it? Because if they can't afford it, what happens? Debt mounts. So in as much as it could be a brilliant idea, do they have the wherewithal to do it?
I mean, Mr. Jackson, they are using power. Someone has to pay for it. And
someone has to pay for it. They haven't paid for it in a long while. Huh? In a long while. Is there a major problem there? Or is it that they just don't want to pay for their bills? Is that what it is?
I mean, if you pick a company like the Ghana Water Company, and yesterday I heard Mr. Roxy make reference to the Ghana Water Company, they are also unable to pay. I mean, they would also tell you that, well, they are supplying water, people are not paying. They would also make the same argument. So it appears that it's more or less like a cycle. Everyone is shifting the blame onto the next person.
We're chasing our tails. Somebody needs to say this should stop and make sure that people pay their bills. Look, I have made suggestions on this platform so many times. And I reckon that if we started in 2015, 10 years, we would have gotten somewhere. I've suggested that we should gradually move conventional power away from residential, so that gradually it moves into where? Into business. And then residential have renewable energy, solar. By so doing, try and manufacture the solar panels here in Ghana. Try and reduce the cost, even if you have to subsidize for a certain duration. For what? For residential to have its own source of power. Because if I have solar in my house, and I'm sure AB has solar in his house, and I come in and I decide that I want to use my own, I don't want to use conventional, is it not mine? Have I not bought the panels? Is it not producing electricity? The question here has got to do with net metering. So if I produce excess power from my solar, where does it go to? Should it not go back to the grid?
Main grid, yeah.
What has happened? Have we been able to work that out? And it all has to do with a plan. By now, I would have thought major hotels would be on solar. I would have thought hospitals, critical areas can go conventional, but lights for the wards and those would be on solar. Schools would be on solar. Are they? They are not. My school at Sahel College, it was the old boys who are putting a solar system. But there should be a policy that states any new building in this country should have solar. So when you're building, you put it in and make sure that you have solar, and it should be inspected. Nobody seems to be planning this energy sector. So it is jagged. Today it comes and tomorrow it comes. Today, you think this problem you're going through, it won't happen again if we solve it? Where we are today, have we not been there before?
Many times.
Many times.
Yeah.
So who is responsible to make sure that the right thing is being done? I would suggest this should be the last time we have this kind of problem. We should dedicate finance. And sometimes I say, look, the oil revenue, when we did the Revenue Management Act, we put in 13 clauses of how the revenue should be spent. And the minister, the finance minister, is supposed to choose 4 priority areas every year. I remember telling President Kufuor, initially when we discovered oil, that the revenue we get from oil, we should put in a special account and use it for strategic things for the country. Strategic things. And not take it into consumption. Not take it into everyday work. Because before oil money came, were we not living? And then strengthen the other sources of revenue. Our agile natural resources, our gold. What we're trying to do with gold today, we should have done 50 years ago. Those mineral resources that bring us money, bauxite, manganese, let's add value to those. I talked about it then, 2000, when President Kufuor came. Don't you think if we had put these things in place, by now, but we haven't. We're still exporting wholesale, not adding value. Because when you add value, it helps. Let me give you a typical example of our lithium. Ghana can be a hub for lithium batteries in the world. It needs money, isn't it? If we had dedicated monies from our oil revenue to build our lithium resources, do you know the quantum of money we would make just by manufacturing lithium batteries? And lithium batteries are not just batteries we use on cars and all this, for phones, computers, all that kind of stuff. But because we don't dedicate money, and because the debt level in this country is so high, it becomes challenging. We need to get to a point where, although we have said we are doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects, once we get to a point where we realize the finance is not available, we tell the people we cannot go on with ABCD project because the money isn't there. We cut it. Chile did it. Chile did it. The president of Chile, I think this was about 5, 6 years ago, he came and told the people, yes, we have planned ABCDE, but at the present moment, the state of our finances do not help us. So we are cutting. Bring the people along. Let the people understand. But us, because of politics, because we feel that the opposition party will say, you said you do it, and you couldn't do it. So we don't want to take such decisions. But those decisions are critical for the economy. Critical for the economy.
I'll come back to you, Mr. Jantua. Let me wrap up with Mr. Roxon on the line. Mr. Roxon, if you can hear me, I want 2 questions. First, what is the short-term plan just to ensure that we don't have to panic, we just can remain calm and know that we are going to have access to power? And secondly, the long-term solution to ensuring that we don't have this discussion once again. Mr. Roxon, if you can hear me. Hello, Mr. Roxon.
Hello.
Yes, so I was asking, in wrapping up the discussion with you, about first what a short-term plan of government is, just to ensure that we are meeting our periodic commitments, and we also have funds available to ensure that we procure enough fuel. Then we can also talk about a long-term approach as well.
Okay, so the short-term plan, the immediate plan is for ECG to improve its collections. And like I mentioned earlier, its cabinet has approved that all MMDAs must pay for electricity consumed except the exempted 5. And like I said, even the exempted 5 is not a blanket exemption.
I mean, Mr. Roxon, the point that Mr. Jantua makes is that, I mean, even a casual look at the books of these institutions will clearly show that some of them will not be able to pay their bills, which will mean that we'll just have the debt situation once again. And the only other option will be what we saw some few months back. You'll be disconnecting their power and there'll be complaints all over the place.
No, I mean, let me use the Ghana Water as an example. Ghana Water is they sell water, they make revenue. They should be able to pay, at least sit with ECG and have a discussion and have a payment plan. So it shouldn't be that the power is produced. If that does not happen, we would have to find the money elsewhere. So it's either the consumer is paying, or we keep going back to Ministry of Finance. That means that taxpayers will be paying for some of these inefficiencies. That cannot be accepted. That is unacceptable. So we'll have to. I mean,
if you take Ghana Water, for instance, I mean, I have seen their books over the period. They make the point. I mean, if just last year they were saying that consumers owe them about 1.2 billion cedis. Even what they are supplying, they can't even. It's just like ECG, very similar to ECG. They are supplying water, they can't take the money.
They have to put in the measures to recover their monies, like ECG is doing now. ECG has put in measures to recover their monies, and very soon you're going to see the drive from them. And that is what they must also do. Definitely, it cannot be business as usual. The sector is at a critical stage. If you look at the invoices for last year alone, you're looking at billions from ECG alone. You can't have a situation where government is spending these monies on fuel every time, or even invoices on bills that are presented to ECG. For example, you have invoices presented to the tune of 1.3 billion. ECG pays 423, and government pays $800 million. It cannot happen. Once you are selling power, you should be able to recover the money, at least, and then also improve efficiency to ensure that these things do not happen. So in the meantime, immediate term, all MMDAs will pay. Private institutions that also owe the ECG must also recover from them. There will also be the private sector participation in the revenue collection, which we expect as a ministry that it will improve ECG's collection. We're also looking at the gas pipe, the phase 2 of gas processing plant, because like I mentioned earlier, it's almost half the savings when you compare that to LCOs or liquid fuels. So these are the measures. And then once ECG sees efficiency and an improvement, most of the problems you find in the sector will change. And then finally, the government is also looking at the tariff structure when it comes to electricity. Government cannot continue to pay for fuel for ECG. It must be factored in the tariff structure. Beyond that, reserve margins are also not catered for. All these must be considered in the tariff structure to ensure that you have an improved system. If we get to where we got to in 2015 in the petroleum sector, when now in the petroleum sector there's full cost recovery, we will not have some of these challenges that we are facing today.
Mr. Jantua in the studio wants to engage you on an issue, and I'll just let him do that now. Mr. Jantua, go ahead.
Don't you think it is time that the Ministry of Energy sits with SIGA so that they get all these companies in, so that you can identify exactly what the challenge is? Because if you assume that Ghana Water can pay with Galamsey and them having to buy expensive chemicals to purify the water, it is hitting their bottom level. So I think it is time for for the Ministry of Energy, sit with SIGA, get all these companies in and get to know what their challenges are, whether they'll be able to pay. Number two, we talk about another gas processing plant. Fantastic. When was the last time we did exploration to production? Any new field? We have stranded gas. I need to know at what point is this gas processing plant going to come in? Because we cannot put up a gas processing plant and buy gas from somewhere. It has to come from our own. And if we're going to do that, we need to have more companies come in to explore and produce the gas for this new gas plant. And yes, most of Ghana's gas is more in the Accra-Keta Basin area. So if you say you are going to produce, and this is offshore, you are going to produce gas from these areas and take it to Tuabo, it's going to be costly. But we have to make sure we have the feed source for the new gas processing plant. What companies are coming in? Who are these companies? Where are they going to drill? Is it going to be shallow water? Is it going to be shallow to deep? Is it going to be deep? Is it going to be deep to ultra deep? Is it going to be ultra deep? What is the plan? Yes, it's good to have another processing plant, but we need the feedstock. Today, we have stranded gas. We have gas in the ground that we are not using.
Okay.
How do we get that out to bring in a new processing plant?
Very, very interesting points made by my learned senior. To start from the second point, so currently the ministry has inaugurated an implementation committee to look at the gas processing plant phase 2, chaired by the Honorable Deputy Minister. The technical committee is looking at all these, the engagement with stakeholders as well to ensure. And when you look at the updates the minister gave yesterday, the minister mentioned that at his engagement at OTC, ExxonMobil had given assurance that they'll be coming back. ENI is looking at new investment. Cosmos is looking at new investment of about $2 billion. So there are a number of players that are interested in the sector. We know that over the last few years, we've seen, like you mentioned, exploration and production go down significantly. It hasn't moved at the pace with which we expected it to move from 2010 to this time. So yes, there are new players coming in, there are new areas being explored. The technical committee is also engaging to ensure that the gas processing plant comes on. We have guaranteed feedstock. We are looking at about 150 to 300 scf a day for the gas processing plant. So be rest assured that definitely all these works are being looking at. On the first point on SIGA, it's an interesting point. When you owe, at the end of the day, you have to engage. Where you find that people owe and they have the position of, oh, my books are not good, so I'm not even engaging, then it becomes difficult. So those who owe, those who have consumed the electricity, must be able to approach ECG with a payment plan. But we'll take your point as well that the ministry will engage SIGA as well to try and find a lasting solution to this. Because like I mentioned, the approval has come from Cabinet. Cabinet has a better view of the books of some of these companies, and I'm sure that the president and his cabinet took into consideration some of these things. But we'll take your point on, and then there will be engagement as well.
I mean, finally, from me, as we wrap up, Mr. Roxon, there's a message that has come in. The person says she lives in an area where the periodic maintenance schedules or publications by ECG that there will be outages, the area is never mentioned, but their lights go off all the time. I mean, at least every single day it goes off once a while. And the point they are making is that should there not be some official information notifying them of the outages? If your point is that we are not shedding load and there are other reasons for what's accounting for it, then why are those areas not being captured?
In fact, I agree with the person that there should be better communication. This week, the minister met with officials from ECG, and one of the points that the minister made was that ECG should improve on its communication with the public, because you cannot have a system where every now and then there are scheduled maintenance, but you do not, the citizens do not have an idea what's going on. So I agree with the person. This feedback has been given to ECG that they should improve on communication. The truth is that there are times where ECG cannot anticipate that will happen. For example, if there's a trip or there's a problem with the transformer or a cable, obviously ECG couldn't have anticipated that this will happen. But immediately it happens, at least once there's a communication to, some form of communication to persons in that area, they'll be able to deal with it. The minister made some suggestions to the ECG, the officials of ECG on communication, and then they've taken it on. So we hope that in the next few weeks we'll see some improvement in communicating when it comes to ECG schedule maintenance with the masses. Sometimes the communication is done, but even though the communication is done, it is not widely circulated. So there are times where there are scheduled maintenance, you go on the app and then you see that, yes, indeed, the area has been mentioned. So I also urge the general public that we should also pay attention to some of the communication platforms of ECG to ensure that immediately these communications or these announcements are made, we get to know of it. But we agree that there should be better communication between ECG and the people of Ghana.
We'll leave it here for now. Richmond Roxon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. He is a legal practitioner, also the head of communication at the Ministry of Energy and Green Transitions, joining us with some explanation on what is happening in the sector. And let me come to AB now. And AB, I have seen already your opponents, your political opponents. They've made references to past comments made by the minister, John Jinapo. There's a video I've seen where they have him saying that government should stop whining, they should stop complaining, they should just fix the energy challenge. Then they've added his video from yesterday saying that, car power is on our necks, this person, we owe this, we owe it. And they are saying that already the minister and your government, for that matter, is complaining when they should be finding solutions to the problem.
So let me start by saying good morning to your viewers. This energy sector debt is beginning to mimic the proverbial tour debt, which started when I was in the university, and it is still hanging around our necks. We still pay the tour debt, or we've stopped. Have you retired it? You know.
No, we haven't retired. There's still a little to pay.
So
I think
the energy sector debt is beginning to look like that to me. But see, I don't understand why we cannot take off some networks from the national grid. For instance, street lights. When you look at the nature of street lights, the pole itself is fixed to the ground and it's under the sun perpetually. It's not something you have to be moving it to the sun and sending it back to darkness or to sending it back. It's already there. The thing is there. Why can't we just use solar to deal with it? I've seen in some areas there are solar, but our street lighting should not be connected to the national grid at all. It's free sunlight. Free. As for the MPP and their comments, as you attributed to, John Jinapo is a steady hand. Hasn't he just told you that this Saturday or weekend, some fuel will come in? And I'm saying that there is no way that Ghana will be plunged into darkness under John Jinapo. What he does is to carry along the Ghanaian people. This is the situation. This is the extent to which we find ourselves. But does he end there? He doesn't end there. John Jinapo provides solution. So it is not whining. It is carrying along the people of Ghana, informing the people of Ghana, and then he will provide a solution as he did in this current one that we are facing. So the MPP would latch on to anything to say, but it is not the same like their time when in their communication they insulted every Ghanaian who expressed concern about the current the situation.
I mean, I remember one of the main criticisms against them had to do with the then minister's response on load shedding timetable when he was asked to publish. There are people who are saying the same thing, that you're also refusing to publish a load shedding.
Yes.
I mean, the lights are going.
The thing was not about the refusing to publish. It was the tone and the disrespect to the people of Ghana. Is that the way John communicates? No. You carry along the people. Let them know why you can't provide a timetable. Because he says that these outages are not as a result of lack of capacity. And the time we used to have this timetable was because there was no generation. So you were now rationing the power. We have gone past that. We have the capacity now. So you cannot determine where will go off or where will not go off. That's what he explained. Now, car power. And this is one of the problem-solving approach. And I knew that John was going to pull this off if car power had even said that they were going to shut down today. I knew that it won't happen. Because it was under the tenure of Jinapor that car power came to Ghana. Car power came to Ghana. You know?
Getting some water.
Car power came to Ghana. And indeed, I was a member of the board of GMPC. And I saw how Jinapor came around when we were going to sign the agreement. I think it was in Kempiski. And he was virtually on his feet, begging, Charlie, you people should do this for us. You people should do this for us. So I knew he had some personal relationship with car power, and car power will not fail him. So I knew that this will not happen. So I'm not surprised. But I think that, and I heard them say MMDs should start paying. What do they mean by that? The gentleman, my junior, should become clear, because I know that I heard one of the MMDs. And is it MMDs is the assemblies,
Ministries,
department,
and agencies. Those are MDs. But from what he said, I get him to refer to basically everyone. Basically everyone. Because initially I was thinking he was referring to the assemblies. But when he was speaking, explaining, he made reference to Ghana Water Company, which would be under an agency. Yes.
Agencies.
So everyone,
one of the agencies,
including your agency,
my agency. And I see Lice bill come, and I approve payment. So we have been paying. We have been paying. I mean it to go to the finance, and they pay. So it's not, don't create the impression that we don't pay, and it's not that we're going to start paying. If you are saying that there is an old policy which said that they should be, the MMDs should be fixed with prepaid meters, so that it's automatic. When you don't pay, you don't consume. Then that one I agree. They must implement that one. But those of us who are paying, know we pay. So the impression should be created that we don't pay at all.
Okay. Let me come to Prof now. And Prof, you are the governance person. And I mean, if in the 1960s, we were talking about nuclear energy at the time, and Nkrumah led us, we built the Akosombo Dam. The nation's population was less than 5 million. We are in 2025. And
an atomic reactor.
Atomic reactor, yes. And we are in 2025, and Mr. Jantua is making reference to the need for alternate power source. I remember Kufuor's era. At a point, we had to pray for rains to ensure that the Akosombo is full. I mean,
and pastors were praying.
Yeah, I mean, what this story tells us is that there has been a leadership failure. I don't know how else you would want to assess it.
It is clear. Where is that wisdom we lost in knowledge? That is the first question we should be asking ourselves. Woodin Allen said that 80% of success is showing up. And it means we have not showed up. But Mark Twain is somebody who thought America is something very important, how to laugh at themselves. We need to be sitting here and laughing at ourselves. Don't we supply Benin electricity? And Benin is able to sustain their electricity. Why can't we sustain ours? So if you look at the system, we are talking about a reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy sector, and we don't have it. It is not reliable, it's not affordable, it is not sustainable. And why are we having that problem? One word, inefficiency. So there is inefficiency in paying our PPPs, billing and metering. We have a problem there. I started by saying that somebody buys, 100 Ghana cedis prepaid. And then before you put the token number on your meter, 11 cedis have been taken away, so you get 89. I've been watching it. Check it. So before you buy prepaid and then you put that token number into your smart meter, already 11 cedis have been taken away from 100 cedis. Where is the money going? Nobody knows. Those are deductions.
That's weird because I use the same system, but I've not paid attention
to it. Yes, check it. You've not paid attention. I pay attention to every detail in whatever I do.
Okay.
Check it and see. Where does that money go? Every 100 cedis you put in there, 11 cedis is taken away, so they'll put 89. Once we put the number there and say accepted, we don't check. Go and check and see, where is that money going? So if you look at the situation that we find ourselves, we need to embrace renewables. That has not been done. I did some checks. Do you know that wind turbines, Chicago, the whole city of Chicago is powered by wind turbines? Do you know that wind turbine, one wind turbine can power 2,000 homes? And if you have, and it costs just $2 million. Do you know that if you have about 20 by the seaside, or 100, it will power the whole of Accra?
It's the location.
So we had some white people that I know who came from Ohio. I will tell you this. Who came from Ohio, they wanted to do this even for us free. The government at that time did not allow them. Bad leadership. And we sit here complaining and complaining, like the ostrich in the sand. We also have solar in abundance. Solar, he was talking about that. Solar in abundance. What are we using them for? If you go to South Africa, every street light, every traffic light is powered by solar. Why can't we do the same? So the question is, what is the private doing with the public and then the education sector?
What is the plan? We don't have a plan.
So I'm coming there. I'm coming there. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So, and if you don't plan, you leave your life to chance like a lottery. That is why we are waiting for 2.6 days, less than 3 days, to get supply of fuel before we can have electricity. That's lack of planning. So we don't have to wait till the last minute. And then we have not decentralized the energy production. We need to decentralize it. So it is not only about production, because you can't talk about a product without talking about the process. The production of energy, we have a problem. The distribution system, we have a problem. The metering system, we have a problem. Collection of revenue, we have a problem because it's not even transparent. We collect the money and we don't know where the money goes. They are talking about Ghana Water Company and other institutions that must pay. I am telling you on authority today that even health sectors owe. People owe a lot of health sectors, and I can't mention names. Every MMDAs, they are all swallowed by debt. And we are using all our money in servicing debt. So where do we have money for development and sustain our energy? And that is the way we need to rethink. So poverty sometimes is not the money you have, it is the mindset. Our mindset has been that only go and borrow. Only go and borrow. But you see, ideation is money. Honesty is money. That is why our mothers and our fathers who go and trade, sometimes you don't have the money, but because you are truthful, the person will give the goods to you, say, go sell it and then bring the money later, because you've been paying on time. These values are missing and we have to look at that. So are we looking at solar? We are not looking at that. If you say that secondary schools now they have to pay, their electricity bills, who is going to pay? Is it the headmaster or the senior housemaster or the students or the poor parents? How are they going to pay? So we have to be looking at that. Why are there exemptions from the presidency, some education sectors, and then from the health? What about the others? Are they not providing key services to the nation? So we need to be looking at that way. Then regulatory framework, the rules and regulations. We have tons of lawyers. In fact, this country, everybody is a lawyer. And just the regulations that are supposed to make sure that people pay. Yes, see, I know.
What has lawyers got to do?
Yes, so I am doing a kutia now. We have a lot of lawyers, but the regulatory framework, we have the laws, but the enforcement. If somebody is not able to pay, what do? Do we cut the person off?
I mean,
or we use sentiments in solving the problem?
Mr. Janton made reference to political interference, and I mean, I agree with him perfectly, because if you pick the tariff prices, for many years, we've heard the power players complain that what the tariffs that are being announced by the PRC does not reflect what they need. So they need to charge more. But when you have the political parties in opposition and the tariff goes up, they accuse the government. So once they also come to power, then it becomes politicking. They use their influence on the PRC.
So let me ask you a question. Who is the government? Is it not us? We are the government. And then we have revenue coming in and expenditure, right? So for the past 3 months, Gold Board alone, they've got $2.7 billion. That is what we are being told. So can't we use some of the money to shovel off, kind of, help the poor people, because we are the government and we need to help ourselves. Energy is everything. You need computers to work. You have to go to the office. I've been going to the office when the light goes off, everybody comes out. You can't work. So it's like your hand is chopped off. You can't do anything. So we are the government, and where we are making revenue, we have to use some of these revenues and stop the freebies. You see, use some of these revenues to shovel off, kind of subsidy for the poor Ghanaian citizen. So I think that we have to look at that. But it is unacceptable that you are running at a loss of 2 billion Ghana cedis every month. You can't run a company like that every month. You are running at a loss of 2 billion. And how do you expect to sustain it? So you cannot sustain it. And in simple accounting, we have the going concern that if you're a board member or you belong to the institution, you have to look at the going concern. And auditors are very familiar with it, that can you sustain this business? It means that we are not going to be able to sustain our electrical system the way we are using it, because we don't have the 2 billion. And if government have to come in every month with the excess to pay for it, that means we are putting all our money into electricity. So we have to sit down and take introspective effect about who we are. And then we have to prioritize the use of locally produced natural gases, as you talked about. How can we, and when we don't import and we are doing them here, we are also creating employment for ourselves. Because anytime we import something from other countries, we are creating employment for them. But if we can do so for ourselves, we are going to do it for ourselves. So let's think about within ourselves what we can do, and instead of always importing from other countries. And then the tariffs should be aligned with actual consumption patterns and operational costs to ensure financial stability. So if you talk about the tariffs, how do we align that with our consumption patterns? Do we even know how we consume? I heard the other guy who's also a lawyer talking about, because some child...
Well, you have lawyers or what?
No.
This morning you have
I don't have a problem with lawyers. I can't have a problem with lawyers because I know you put it to me. So I know you also can. So everybody is higher than me. But do you know that research has shown that the worst leaders are lawyers and pastors? Go and search about that, and pastors. So he's talking about Chado.
Is that why we had one?
I don't know. Don't get me into trouble today. Today is Friday. So the issue is that he talked about Chado having expanded, and they were not anticipating for that. Of course, if you go to any advanced country, US, Canada, Europe, you will see that as a 19, and then you see as a 21. And you ask yourself, what is as a 20? They know that there's going to be future development, and there will be another exit there. So they have planned already the lands and everything. Here, we don't plan like that. In Accra, even if you open up your armpit, by the time you come back, there's a building there. We are building everywhere. There's no town planning. You see, we not plan anything. And if you don't do that, your life is left to chance. That is why we have to wait till 2.6 days, less than 3 days, to get importation of fuel. So if something happens and the fuel don't get here, what happens? We all sleep in darkness. And my brother, it is not easy to sleep in darkness when there are mosquitoes and there's heat. And we all need to come on board and eschew all our political affiliations and make sure that we all contribute as citizens, as leaders, to make sure that our electricity is always on.
But, there's one leader who was also a lawyer, but he did well, Professor Mills.
Yes.
So how do you compare that?
No, but there are always outliers.
Outliers,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Just one thing.
Yeah, sure.
When you compare us to the other parts of the world, a friend of mine said in Ghana, we deal with personalities, not the law. So the law is there. You need to enforce it. There's some big man there. Yeah. We'd rather deal with that person than deal with the law. If we continue to do that. Trump, what happened? It was former president then, did they not take him to court?
They did.
Can that happen in Ghana? So you have all the fanciful laws. Ghana's laws are fantastic.
The lawyers today.
Are fantastic. No. It's not the lawyers who enforce. The lawyers go out there to advocate.
Yes.
It is the power that is behind the governance who should enforce. Because when Mahama tried to enforce the law, what did we see? Oh no, hold on. Oh no, this. Oh no, that. Typical example is the wahu. The wahu.
What is wahu?
What is wahu? Ministers who have, what do you call it, motorcades in front of them. We are all in a hurry to go. But because they are ministers, they've given them what? Moto. To do what? To bypass
as if they are
traffic.
More important
as if they are more important than us. Are there not traffic laws? Are there not traffic laws? So we do what? We section them aside. They are much better than us. Isn't it us who put them there? Are they not servants to us? So we are rather interested in personalities than in enforcing the law. But when you try to enforce the law, challenge comes. The politics comes in.
The EC cannot collect the monies, and
the ECG.
It has been a problem, and that has been the basis for all this issue of energy sector debt. Because if people consume, they must pay. The EC cannot do that, and that has also been the problem in this energy sector crisis. You see,
he talked about prepayment and post-payment, so it seems they are categorized. Some people are prepaid and others are post-paid. That is a problem.
And the workers are up in arms when the minister proposed that there's going to be a concessional, and then some aspect of ECG will be given out to the private sector. I think you cannot make an omelette without breaking an egg. Which one do we prefer? That the workers should have their way, or the country should be plunged into darkness? If you cannot collect, can we hive that aspect of it to the private sector? But jobs will be secured in the sense that now, when the private sector takes control over that sector, they will give you KPIs. And if you are still lackadaisical, as in the case of when you were under ECG, you'll be fired.
Maybe let me ask you, which of the private sectors are we talking about? Are we talking about Ghanaian local private sector, or we are talking about international private sector? Which one?
Efficient private sector.
Which one?
All of the above.
I'm saying the efficient private sector.
Remember that there can wait. Remember there can be capital flight with the international one. Do we need that? We should look more local.
I think, Mr. Jantua, even when the PDS came, I remember the very first few months, there were suggestions that the revenue collection had gone up significantly.
Yes.
I mean, I think...
But there's capital flight in there.
Yes, I mean, that's always a danger.
So let's look local. Because I'm sure there are companies, Ghanaian companies in Ghana, that can take over that revenue collection.
They can.
What surprises me the most...
Let's trust our own.
And I don't know
Ghanaians can do this.
I don't know whether elsewhere they have the technology. I mean, when you are using power and you are not paying, the meter is not reading. I'm told ECG cannot detect that anywhere unless they come to the house. Unless they enter the house.
In today's technology.
Even with the smart ones. You see, even with the smart one.
But now they've decided not to put the meters in the houses. They are on the poles. So they can now...
there are still homes that they put in the house on the compound. Because I know someone who's placed...
They are starting that one.
Yeah, I know someone who's placed their house about 3 years. The meter apparently was not working. The meter was just there. It wasn't working. And the person was just complaining to try and get them
they'll keep giving you bills.
And you see... And I was wondering, because I was curious that if we don't have the technology to just be in our office and know that power is going here and the person is not accounting for it.
For the prepaid, I think that I've been watching this. For the prepaid, what happens is that sometimes when you go to the meter and it's on your phone, you check and it will tell you that there's an error with the meter, but there's no error. You go to ECG and they will tell you that they will look at it and fix it. And it doesn't get fixed. So you keep adding. Maybe if I check, 007.
So there are some of the meters that
007, you dial that number and you check And my meter tells me I have 450 or 850.
It's the same.
But the meter will tell you that it's a 40 meter. If you look online, so it means that there's not a single
type
technology.
of meter they call the assemblyman meter.
What is assemblyman meter?
It's supplied by the assemblyman.
That is why
and those ones they don't read anything.
That is why it is very important. Remember the minister talking about the World Bank bringing in meters.
Yeah.
It's very important they are able to make sure that those meters are coming from one source.
So we can't even build meters here.
Wait. There are about 3 companies in Ghana today assembling meters here. They are part of the AGI. They should concentrate on those ones and not bring any foreign ones in.
I agree with you.
Because then you get standardized meter everywhere.
I agree with
when
you.
you have different types of meters, that is where the challenge comes in. So we should make sure that it's the local companies that are producing the meters who should get this World Bank funding.
All right. I mean, that's it by way of the first discussion. Some messages that have come in so far. Yes,
there should be a 2-tier tariff structure. So the industrial and the commercial users, should pay higher than the individual users. That is something that is very important to me. And then the Energy Commission and the PURC, they should also ensure that they operate without political interference. I think that the PURC and then the Energy Commission, there's a lot of political interference there. And then we need to use robust technologies to track revenue resources and inflow so that we can prevent corruption in the revenue collection. Thank you.
Ebo Bachman, who joins us on Fridays, he sends a message. He says that TOR is a strategic national asset. Let's revive and operationalize it to cushion the nation against external shocks. We must prioritize energy diversification and accelerate investments in renewable energy. He goes on to say that Ghana needs strategic fuel reserves. It is unacceptable that we lack a national fuel buffer when energy is critical to our survival. Establishing a minimum 3-month national energy reserve at all times should be non-negotiable. Energy must now be treated as a national security issue. Prince Henry from Koforidua, you sent this one here. You say the situation we find ourselves in now demands collective support from all so we can solve the energy sector debt. It is a fact that our problem is a financial and not incompetence of the minister. The final one will be from Kwablavi from Pokwase Benghazi. You say that Ghana is not a serious country because MPP incurred that huge energy debt and left it on the head of Ghana. The big men who, are sitting at their homes and the whole country is going to face energy crisis. We are not going to hold any person responsible because we are not serious.
And the person who sent me the message with regards to we look at personalities and not lawyers is an engineer called Akosi Awusi Efa. And we've had discussions with regards to that. And she said, but here it's only personalities we are interested in. We are not interested in the law. And it's true.
So that is it by way of our first discussion. Let's we'll devote the outstanding time to just another story that came out yesterday. The Office of Special Prosecutor, they've been able to do some recoveries. We know that they were prosecuting some individuals. 6 individuals were being prosecuted for various offenses. It had to do with the payroll fraud issue. The OSP was able to, in fact, the monies involved, they estimated to be around 80,000 cedis. The OSP managed to go under the plea bargaining provisions, and they were able to reach an agreement with these 6 individuals, and they've recovered a little over 100,000 cedis. And so a bit of, if you can say, some profit made by the OSP so far, and already some are commending them, and there are those who are also making the point that, well, this is good, but when the office was set up, we expected the OSP to be that powerful agency that will go after the big politically connected in society and not those who are at the lower levels of the value chain. I don't know what you make of all of that discussion. And I want to start with AB on this particular subject matter. The critics have said that the OSP is not working. That has been the aim, that it's not showing work for the funds that we allocate periodically. This is some good news over there. We are told that 106,319 cedis have been recovered. They were prosecuting 6 individuals, plea bargaining. That should be good news, AB.
Yes, but you see, the people who still engage in ghost names, haven't they realized that adding names to the payroll and taking those monies into your pockets is old-fashioned way of defrauding the state? And it has now been discovered
So which way should be used? So which way should be used? Is that advanced way of doing
But
it?
if it is old-fashioned,
It's old-fashioned.
yeah, but how does it keep happening?
Is there advanced way of doing it?
It can easily be detected. That old-fashioned way of adding names to payroll and then you take number 4 to 5, it's easily detectable.
Why 45? Where do you put that number from?
It's easily detectable because we've gone digital and all those things.
So if you do digital way,
Those days, when that was fashionable or was in vogue, was when you could also change your birth date to prolong your stay in the civil service. So now you can't prolong your date in the civil service or public service because we've gone digital. So they should stop. That's what I'm saying. They should stop. I'm not saying they should stop and look for new ways. But they should stop. You will easily be detected. After that one, you'll be detected. By the OSP. When the law was passed, I was the one who said that, in fact, we didn't need an OSP, and that if we had a strong Attorney General, he could do same. And that we're just replicating institutions. And so it is true that people have indicated that he's not had any one successful prosecution. It's true. But we all know that the area in which we have hived out for him is a very complex area. Corruption. Prosecuting corruption is very, very challenging. Because these people who you are prosecuting have their connections in the judiciary. They have their men. And a well-connected, corrupt person is like a keg of gunpowder which can easily explode and even consume you, the one who is prosecuting. And so that's why some of us call for the salary and condition of service of the special prosecutor to be enhanced. If you want that institution to deal with corruption, then you should insulate them. There's no research actually that says that the better you are paid, the less corrupt you are. As for that, because the police, when single spine came, they were still taking one city. So it is more of, you know,
if you are corrupt, you are corrupt.
It is more of attitude now, you know. But you still need to insulate them.
Okay.
I think that the special prosecutor in this particular matter is not always to secure prosecution, a conviction. Sometimes we are better off as a nation if we retrieve the money and use it for more better things. You remember I took Godfrey Dami on when he was prosecuting this man, the man that they were head on, Jakpa. You know, there was an opportunity for him to recover the monies. He failed to do that. And today,
when the company
proposed, and I thought that was the best way to go about it. Take the money and leave the case. Now look at where we have ended. So sometimes it is not just about securing conviction, but sometimes if you can do this retrieval, it will help the nation.
Mr. Gantua, I mean, this should be one good news. We should be commending the OSP, or this one is work that is not.
What are we looking for?
I mean, we want recoveries. Yes,
recoveries.
Yeah.
Irrespective of whether it's small or it's big. The OSP, he has powers of audit. Investigate all these types of things. So far as I'm concerned, if he is doing his work in retrieving monies, those monies would never have been retrieved if he didn't put work in there. And it takes time for these things to happen. They say, what do you call it, of the law grinds slowly.
The wheels of justice.
The wheels of justice grind slowly. I think we should try as much as possible not to denigrate that position. Because sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes political pressure is put on the OSP that we don't even see, that we don't even know. So for me, if he's been able to retrieve monies, it's for the good of the country, isn't it? How much are we talking about here?
It's a little over 120,000.
Some people too have been prosecuted. I understand now they're even going to prosecute the PPA boss. So it is a process. Let's give him the benefit for the doubt to have the confidence to work. Isn't it our parliament that brought in plea bargaining?
Yeah.
And if we knew plea bargaining wasn't something we wanted, why did we pass it? And if that chance is there to plea bargain, and the people who plea bargain can bring the money back, aren't those people likely to be witnesses to get more people?
Yeah.
So don't let us throw the water out with the child out with the bath water.
Okay.
I think he's trying to do his work. I think if for nothing at all, we should give him the confidence to continue. Because little becomes what? Little drops of water become
Mighty
a
ocean.
mighty ocean.
I mean, Prof,
Yes,
I mean, this should be good news. I mean, those involved in it, I mean, one of them is an assistant chief accounts technician at the Controller General's Department. There's a former teacher at
Do you know
a
how
senior
long these
school.
people have been doing this for?
There's another person who's also at the School Improvement Support Office. There's a former headmaster. There's also a municipal coordinator in charge of integrated personnel payroll database. And there's a headmaster. So you see that this one is like a...
So it's a syndicate,
Yeah.
it's a cartel. And when we talk about ghost names, we don't have ghosts. We have individuals alive pretending to be ghosts and stealing under other people's names. I knew of somebody who had traveled to US for about 15 years, and somebody was collecting his salary every month. What they do is that there's a syndicate. The name will still remain on the payroll, and then controller will pay, knowing that these people have not been validated because they have been doing some validation. They will come even to the institutions and do some head counts. And if you are not there, it means that you will not be part of the process. So your salary will be blocked unless you go to controller and then tell them that you are liable. And then they will take your fingerprint and then they will start releasing your salary for you. But how come that from controller to these institutions and to the banks, everything is well? Who goes to sign every month, to get their money? It means that people are still thinking about genius ways of stealing from us. So we also have to be smarter in blocking it. Fighting corruption is not easy because corruption is always done in secrecy. I did my PhD on corruption. So when I talk about governance and corruption, and I work with Transparency International on corruption perception indexes. So let me tell Ankwanoma, the OSP, that influence peddling is corruption. And I was shocked to hear him say that it's not a corruption. If I say that before somebody sees Kwame Gentua, I can make you see Kwame Gentua, but give me $10,000. And then you give me the $10,000, and indeed you are able to let me see him. That is corruption. That is corruption. But he said that it's not corruption. And if you look at the money that we've been using and paying that, agency, and then the money they are retrieving, it doesn't compare. So yes, we have to celebrate the modest gain we've got in this amount that we've retrieved. But I think the Office of the Special Prosecutor need to do more. You don't have to wait till somebody's government is out of office, PPA and others, before you start to chase them. Is he creating the impression that when there's a government in power, he can't go after those government individuals?
In fact, the recent interactions between the office and Ken Ofori-Atta is one of the instances that people have made reference to, because the point is that the SML and all those matters are issues that were being discussed here in the nation.
Yes.
And the OSP was right here in the country.
And you can tell from their demeanor that they cannot go after these politicians when they are in office. So they wait.
Point of order. I just got a message from...
I'm not in the courtroom, so you have a point of order for me.
I've just got a message which is saying that the special prosecutor is ready to file cases against MPA, OMCs, and Ken Ofori-Atta.
Okay.
So I think it's in the process.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, on Ofori-Atta, I have a message that also indicates that they expect him at the headquarters on 2nd June.
2nd
June 2025. Yes. Yeah.
Well,
Prof, wrap up for me.
So if somebody, a citizen like me, I have stolen money, and these individuals were prosecuted, right? They've been caught, And others can write from their hospital and say that I am sick. I will come at the time that I'm ready. Then you can see that we live in the animal farm world where some people are treated, better than the others. And I think that when we talk about rule of law, equality before the law, we should treat all citizens equally.
But if the man is sick, the man is sick.
I know, but he had lawyers too. One thing that I know about US that I love so much, if you're a governor, you're listening to me, and the police stops you for overspeeding, and you tell the police officer that you are a governor, if the fine is $250, they'll give you $1,000. Yeah. You, the public officer, should be a role model to set an example, so they punish you more because you should know better. But here it's the opposite.
Personalities,
you see,
instead of the law.
Let's stop the personalities.
All right. That is it by way of our discussion this morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned into the show. My guest this morning have been Abraham Amaliba, is Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, also a legal practitioner and a member of the National Democratic Congress. I also have joining me as well for the discussion, Kwame Jantua. Kwame Jantua had been away for a while. He's back here. Okay. And I also had Professor Enoch Opoku-Antwi as well. We understand that we may have to engage with someone from the Office of the Special Prosecutor in the next minute. So we'll just hold on a bit and do that discussion. But let me do a bit of the messages that have come on our social media platform. The messages mainly have been around the issues surrounding the energy sector matters and also the issues surrounding the OSP. Someone here says June 2, 2025 should be declared a holiday. So we'll go to the airport and welcome him. I don't know who you are talking about. You didn't mention who, but if you are referring to the June 2 deadline that I made reference to, then that is fine. That's your view there. Someone here says that trust the man John Mahama to correct all the wrongs of the NPP. And another one here says we want our money. SHS students are using cement blocks as seats. Another one makes reference to the fact that they want some prosecutions in relation to the National Service Secretariat issues. That was also a payroll matter that came up quite strongly there. Another one here also says those who do their national service from various institutions. Okay, so let me bring in Same Dako. Same Dako is the Director of Strategy at the Office of Special Prosecutor. Mr. Dako, good morning and thank you for joining us.
Just a little intervention I want to make of the payroll audit.
Sure, go ahead.
So this payroll audit is coming out of a bigger investigation the OSP did in 2024. You remember that we've been doing the Government of Ghana payroll investigation, and we started from the northern region. We're supposed to move to the Ashanti across the 16 regions. Now, if you take just the northern region that we did alone, we saved the country over 34 million Ghana cedis for the 2024 financial year. That is how much money we blocked for only 2024, arising from just Ghana Education Service and a hospital in Tamale area. Now, this particular prosecution is arising out of this 34 million that we have saved the nation every year. And this time around, remember when we finished, people were asking, is anybody going to be prosecuted? Yes, people are going to be prosecuted. These are just the first batch of people who are going to be prosecuted. And if you're going to spend so much resources moving from Accra to prosecute people in northern region, and they agree to a plea bargain because the evidence you put before the court is so solid and strong that they have no way of getting out. So they come for a plea bargain. There are so many other things that we cannot even see because it's an ongoing investigation. But sometimes people are not able to put these together. So they are merely looking at what has been retrieved from these seized convicts rather than looking at how much we saved the nation. It's just like the way we did investigations into customs. And we saved the money, millions of cedis. But people are not able to. So people are more interested in, say, people going to jail than looking at the volume of savings that we've made for the state. The OSP, yes, is not going after small fishes because this is a big investigation. that we're doing together with controller. So you cannot even separate and say these are small fishes. They are not small fishes. These are big investigations that we are doing. And people have said that the OSP does not go after big people. It's not true. Investigations take time. Kisia Jabin was sworn into office in August 2021. He practically had to build the office from scratch. And we got full set of staff in 2023. They had to go through training for a year. The OSP really is now flying. With more resources, we have several cases we are doing that we have to push to court. And we are in the process of doing it. I heard one of the panelists talk about Kenneth Furiata, who else? SML, what are some of the cases? There are several cases that are under investigation that are nearing completion.
About Furiata.
And lastly, we also have cases ongoing. But Ghanaians also ought to take into account that there's even a case in Kumasi that we long finished. That judgment has been awaiting since November 2024. You remember the MC nominee, the president's nominee for Ejusu Jabe, who was captured in a viral video. We finished that case in the judgment was due in November 2024. If you take Northern Development Authority, the former CEO, his two deputies, their trial is nearing completion in the Northern region. If you take the former Public Procurement Authority boss, his trial is ongoing every day in the High Court in Greater Accra. And even in Tamale, we have two more other case trials ongoing. But I don't know why sometimes people think that the OSP is not working. But the OSP is also very heavy on prevention and so and asset recovery. So the OSP is working. We just need time. The average criminal trial in Ghana is 3 years. And the OSP cases were filed in 2022. So if people were to give the OSP even some leverage, you could see that the OSP is really working at a fast pace, even under limited circumstances and our contrived political system. This is just the intervention I wanted to make, that Ghanaians should allow the OSP and give it time. Investigation take time, prosecution take time. The moment we move from investigation to the court, it's no longer in the hands of the OSP.
Mr. Dako, on the point you made about the MCE nominee, I mean, that issue, I've seen it come up in other matters, and I'm sure you are familiar with it. What exactly is accounting for the court not delivering the judgment? Because we know that there was a change in the judge, a new judge took over. Has there been a court hearing since that new judge took over?
Well, we've written to the Judicial Secretary to explain why it's taking that long for the judge to sit. So we are waiting a response from the Judicial Secretary. But what we know is that we have long finished the case. Judgment was due on 28th, but when we got there, they were speculating that the judge had been transferred, and so that is why judgment has not come up.
Yeah.
And since,
but the fact is that the judge will come back and deliver his judgment.
We still not had a judgment. So this is something we are trying to find out. But the point we are making is that your OSP is working.
Finally, because you made reference to the Oforiatta situation, I saw your handle tweet that you're expecting him on 2nd June. Is it official communication from him that he will be showing up on the 2nd June, or is just the earlier interaction that you've had with him?
If you remember, when we declared Mr. Oforiatta wanted and we were about to upgrade it to put him on Interpol Red Alert, he did, through his lawyers, come back to us and give us this time a definitive date within which he will return to the jurisdiction and then appear before the OSP. Subsequent to that, he did indicate the time that he will come to Ghana. I don't particularly remember, but it was either between 14 to about 28 or 24 May, for which he will come. The SP graciously did say he will add a bit more time to him, and so the office agreed for him to appear before the office on the 2nd of June. So everything being equal, we are expecting Mr. Oforiatta to appear before the OSP on the 2nd of June. I noticed that a lot of people have been putting up messages that the OSP is not doing anything about it because it was May. I think that May timeline was put in the public domain by the minority leader, if I recall. But for as long as we are concerned, Mr. Foriata is to appear before us on the 2nd of June. So we are not there yet.
With that intervention, Samed Ako is Director of Strategy and Research at the Office of Special Prosecutor. He joined us for the second part of the conversation. I was just running you through our guest this morning. Abraham Amaliba joined us from the National Road Safety Authority, Director General. Kwame Jantwa is a legal practitioner also with the Convention People's Party. Professor Enoch Opoku-Quintri is a governance analyst. Earlier, Richmond Roxon, who is head of communication at the Ministry of Energy, also joined us for the conversation regarding ECG. That is it for Big Issue. The show continues. Stay tuned in.